Welcome to Forthright. I'm Sulani Madsen with a flashback to a column originally published in 2017. I dug this one out of the archives in preparation for the column I was writing this week on the problem of what to do with sexually violent predators. From January 13, 2017, a column with a long headline, "Moving Sex Offenders Around Doesn't Help Them or the Community." A neighborhood is organizing against a threat. They've just received a notice from law enforcement that a level 2 sex offender is moving in next door. The subject of the alert is moving yet another old RV onto a lot already blighted by junked vehicles and just plain junk, with no running water, sewer, or power service. A fire last winter left portions scorched and skeletonized. Calling it a slum would be a compliment. "Not in my backyard" is an understandable reaction. When the encampment first materialized a couple of years ago, attempts were made to reach out and include the new residents in the community, but were rebuffed. The household's bizarre behavior scared the crap out of the neighbors. Security cameras were purchased, doors locked, and defensive strategies developed. The school rerouted its cross-country runners to avoid passing the property. There was relief when the group moved out after the fire. Now the patriarch of the slum is back, this time accompanied by a young friend with a label, the kind of label that makes people very, very nervous. The Community Protection Act of 1990 requires a level 2 sex offender to register a new address, and all local law enforcement can do is notify the community and respond when something goes wrong. He'll be living 2 blocks from a private school playground and public school bus stops. He's completed his prison sentence. The neighbors are asking questions. How can he live so close to schools and children when he has proved himself to be a danger to children in the past? Why is this potential predator on the loose without supervision? How likely is it that he will reoffend? A fact sheet from the Association for the Treatment of Sexual Abusers says sexual offense recidivism rates are much lower than commonly believed, averaging between 14 and 20%. Then it admits the rate is as high as 52% for some types of offenses, and the rates are artificially low because many crimes go undetected and unreported. It wasn't reassuring. In the interest of protecting individual rights, we discharge hazardous people into the community without guidance. The entire community becomes the asylum. The patient is free, and everyone else has to lock themselves in. I spoke with Dr. Matt Layton, board-certified psychiatrist and a leader in the Spokane medical community, and asked him if this situation is as crazy as it sounds. It is. Layton has spent a career working to break down the silos between the different agencies that are tasked with dealing with this sort of behavior, and it's still a work in progress. Meanwhile, level 2 sex offenders, judged to be a moderate risk to sexually reoffend within the community at large, are passed around among the Department of Corrections, the Department of Social and Health Services, and unprepared neighbors. Layton noted people who commit this type of act usually have impulse control issues and are likely to have some kinds of developmental or mental health disabilities that complicate treatment. They need help. They need a stable living situation, boundaries, and long-term counseling. They don't get it when left on their own. We conveniently forget about them unless they move next door. Committing an inconvenient person to the insane asylum was a common plot twist in 19th and early 20th century novels, but we don't do that anymore. A series of class action suits forced deinstitutionalization without following through with realistic, sustainable plans for community treatment. Unless someone is still under Department of Corrections supervision, Department of Social and Health Services programs for community support are voluntary. The patient can impulsively walk away if he gets annoyed with his caregivers. The patient's civil liberties are preserved, and the community loses theirs. More money into the same system will improve nothing. We need a new approach that better balances individual autonomy and community safety. Meanwhile, we all play the NIMBY game. This neighborhood will be using the nuisance property ordinances and any other legal means they can find to move the problem to your neighborhood. As long as the problem keeps moving, it belongs to nobody. Okay, the day I wrote this column was the weirdest of any column writing day I had. I had finished the last run through, and my fire EMS pager went off for the address of the man whose photo I had been looking at all morning as I gathered my thoughts. My crew handled the medical call professionally, and the level 2 violent sex offender was transported to Sacred Heart ER without incident. Or without incident, at least until after he'd arrived. He made the newspaper the next morning after being arrested for assaulting healthcare workers. I don't know what happened next. All I know is he never came back to my village, and he's somebody else's problem. So now, 6 years later, the column I wrote yesterday for publication today finds nothing has changed except the state is now moving level 3 offenders off of a secure facility on McNeil Island. These are men who have completed their sentences but have been civilly committed after being judged as sexually violent predators. The state of Washington thinks they should be your problem. But more on that in the next podcast. The next recording will be the May 15th, 2023 column. Oops, not 15th, May 25th, today. Next recording will be the May 25th, 2023 column. Buy a newspaper today and support local journalism. Be sure to like and subscribe for notifications of new content on Substack and for when that recording is up. Thank you for joining me for this edition of Forthright.